Well, hey fans, welcome back to the third annual JanuScary special. And today we're going to talk about Evil Dead Rise. So Evil Dead Rise is the fifth installment in the Evil Dead franchise. It's directed by Lee Cronin and it stars Lily Sullivan and Alyssa Sutherland. Their names sound very similar and makes sense because they play sisters in the film. And it's basically about this, I'm not sure if she's a groupie or like it's basically about this tech person in a band. She gets pregnant. She doesn't know who the father is, so she decides to go back and be with her sister and her family, you know, just kind of rethink about what she's doing with her life. And while she's there, there's this big thunderstorm, and her sister lives in like this old apartment building that I think is close to being condemned. And they send the kids out to get dinner one night, and on their way back, there is this big earthquake. And this hole opens up in the garage, and the kids go down, and of course they find what? The Necronomicon. Necronomicon, whatever it is called, that book. They find it, and the one kid, he's like a DJ, so he finds these records as well, and he takes them up to the house, and we all know what happens from there. Demons, monsters, all that jazz. And this film is actually rated PG-13. It was made to be released for HBO Max. But of course, after, you know, COVID and all that stuff happened, and Warner Bros. Really needed money, they're like, we're going to pop a few of these movies into theaters to see what they do. And Evil Dead Rise did pretty well. For having such a low budget, I think cost around like $20 million to make, and it made nearly $150 million in theaters, which is a great turnaround. I'm pretty sure it's going to be guaranteed a sequel because of that. And this franchise somehow has just stayed alive over the years. My favorite modern entry, which there are only two, there's Evil Dead Rise and then Evil Dead that came out in like 2013, whatever. Evil Dead for 2013 is amazing. It is one of the best horror movies ever made. It is one of the best remakes ever made. I'm not sure why Fede Alvarez did not return to the series. He did a great job. But Lee Cronin, on a PG-13 rating, he does a great job as well. This film is horrific, it is gory, it is bloody, and it actually canonizes every previous Evil Dead movie, because originally that remake that came out in 2013 was just like a reboot of the franchise. It wasn't considering anything that was done by Sam Raimi to be canon anymore. And I think Sam Raimi also did like this TV show called Ash vs. the Evil Dead that's supposed to be canon to those old movies. But what this movie does, it says there are actually 3 Necronomicons. And I'm not sure if I'm saying that name right, but you got Evil Dead 2, which is basically the same as Evil Dead, and Army of Darkness. The Necronomicon in that set of movies is Necronomicon number 1. Evil Dead 2013, that's Necronomicon number 2, and this movie, Evil Dead Rise, has the 3rd one. So this is all the same universe now, and we can eventually see all of these characters meet, which I think would be a very enjoyable movie. I know people are tired of, oh, every movie has to be big, everything has to connect. But in this case, I kind of want to see it. I want to see what all these characters and their shared trauma, you know, how they're gonna interact. So this film is also pretty smart. You know, every time somebody gets the book, and this happens in the 2013 version, they find the Necronomicon. It's wrapped in barbed wire in a black trash bag, and they cut it open, and there's all these signs, and they still decide to read the book. And you're like, why are you such an idiot? Clearly this book does not need to be read. And in this movie, you know, the guy opens the book, he's looking at it, and the sister's like, nope, we're not reading that. And I was like, good. But then how did the demons come about? Well, the one brother's a DJ, so he plays the records, and that is what forces basically the pages to be read, because they were read by a priest or whatever, and they're recorded on this record. And he's even smart to be like, yeah, this ain't cool. And he tries to stop it, but there are forces beyond his control that won't let him stop the book from being read from these records. And I liked how they introduced that way of having the demons come about. And even in such a short amount of time, you feel for all of these characters. You really want everybody to survive. And they're trapped in this tight space, which normally in all the previous films, they're trapped in a cabin. In this one, they're trapped in this dilapidated, you know, apartment building. And you're like, man, I hope everybody makes it out of this safely. And at a certain point, I was like, yeah, everybody's probably going to make it out of this safely. Oh no, oh no, it's so bad. It's so bad. It like, I felt bad for every death I saw, and even more people died than I thought were gonna die. And I think that is a great misdirect by the director. Like, you don't even think, you're like, these other people pop in, you're like, oh well, we're never gonna see them again. Nope, they come back and they are brutally killed, and you're just like, this is awful. There's a lot of blood, there's a lot of guts, a lot of gore, and great casting. And one of my favorite characters actually in this movie is Morgan Davies. Morgan Davies is a trans actor, and when I originally saw this film, I was not sure that Morgan Davies was trans. I was like, oh, this is just like a young boy. But the thing about the character is, and I'm not sure if this was done deliberately, but they don't say if he is like a trans kid in the movie or if he's just portraying a boy. They don't make that distinction, and I don't know if that was on purpose. I really like to watch a commentary to find out, but the role he portrayed in the film is good. He is one of the people who makes it the longest. That's all I'm going to say. So that was good. The actress that plays the mom, she's the first one to go. She's the one you see on all the posters looking like a zombie. Horrifying, terrific performance. And I hope she gets more work. And the thing is, when you see these characters start to turn, it is upsetting. It is upsetting. It's not that they're just being infected with demons. The body horror that is presented in this is on par with like a Cronenberg type film, and it's just wow, just wow. If you have a weak stomach, let me just say, I would not watch this film. There's a scene where a character who is turned into a demon starts to eat glass, and you can see as they swallow the glass, the spikes coming out of the throat. Just horrific. But like with any horror movie, there are some, not plot inconsistencies, but some leaps of faith you got to take, and that especially comes at the end when the chainsaw does come into play, and there is a chainsaw, and when the demon is killed and there's blood everywhere, and it's like, there's a happy ending where a couple of the characters survive and they walk up into the sunset. And in my head, after watching it, I'm thinking to myself, how are they going to explain this to the cops? You're not just going to walk down the street covered in blood and nobody's going to stop you and ask any questions. Like, what are you going to say when you do, like, oh, my sister and niece and nephew were possessed by demons after that earthquake and I killed them all. Like, I don't see how there can truly be a happy ending after the fact, which is why I want to see a sequel where, like, all these questions are really answered. Another thing that I didn't talk about earlier. So this film opens with a totally separate story. Nothing to do with the family in the apartment building. It actually opens in a cabin in the woods, and there's like these 20-somethings out there. They're camping, they're swimming. Somebody's in the cabin. She's sick, and they go in, and she clearly is infected by a demon, and she goes out and kills them all, and it pops out of the water, and the Evil Dead rise. That's when the title sequence happens, and then the movie starts, and you're like, well, what was that? How does that connect? It wraps it up by the very end because there is somebody in the apartment building who slept through the earthquake and all of this jazz, and then she's infected by the demon, and she doesn't know it, and she goes and meets her friends on this camping trip. So I really enjoyed that circular connection. The score is pretty good. The score is pretty good as well. Like I said, the music ties into the horror and the gore a lot. And I can't wait to see more projects in this realm. I can't wait to see more Evil Dead movies. And hopefully we do get that sequel soon. This one was released, I think, in the spring. It really would have worked better releasing it in the fall around Halloween. I think would have made even more money. Hopefully they do that with the next one. And I would be happy if it is a direct sequel to Evil Dead Rise. They bring back, some of the actresses who survived this one, or if it's a totally brand new set of people and, they're just going to continue this universe that way. In terms of score, I'm going to give Evil Dead Rise a decent 8.3 out of 10. This is a very good horror movie and a good entry into the Evil Dead franchise. Watch it with all the lights off if you can, in the middle of the night on a rainy day. That's That's how you should watch this movie. I'd like to thank you guys again for joining me for the 3rd annual JanuScary special. It was very wonderful to talk horror and thriller movies with you this month. I really wish I could have talked more movies with you. I had at least 2 more movies planned for this, but like I said, I was backed up from the end of last year, and I just ran out of time. I'm not going to be able to get the other 2 in there, and hopefully next year, you know, when we do this, I can get back to doing it at the beginning of the month and getting you more reviews. Remember, you can watch the full review on YouTube and the website flipfrogllc.com/flixfrog. Remember, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit. And please, pretty please, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Facebook page, anything and everything FlipFrog, FlixFrog, FlipFrog Books. Make sure that you subscribe. And until next year, I'll be seeing you.